If Marcus Hale had finished tightening the last bolt and driven home, the girl would have died alone in the desert. If he had ignored the heat rising from the asphalt, the buzzing flies, the strange silence where traffic should have been, history would have stayed exactly the way it was meant to be, cruel and unbothered. But Marcus stopped. The Arizona sun was setting when he saw her, collapsed beside a smoking SUV, lips cracked, skin burning, one hand clutching a bracelet like it was the last thing tying her to life. No screams, no movement, just breathing so weak it felt like a lie. Marcus was broke, behind on rent, living out of a mechanic shop that smelled like oil and regret. He had no reason to help, yet he lifted her anyway. That choice cost him everything he had left and opened a door he never asked for. By morning, the girl was alive. By nightfall, men in black suits were already searching the state. Marcus didn't know her name, didn't know her past, didn't know that the man who once erased her from existence was worth billions and crushed lives the way Marcus crushed rusted bolts. All Marcus knew was this. He had saved a girl the world had abandoned, and the world was about to come crashing through his door. Some people measure their worth in zeros on a balance sheet. Marcus Hale measured his in miles walked on cracked pavement, in engine blocks rebuilt with borrowed tools, in meals skipped so the electricity wouldn't get shut off. Phoenix, Arizona didn't care about men like him. The city swallowed the invisible whole. Mechanics, dishwashers, delivery drivers grinding through 100-degree heat for wages that never stretched far enough. Marcus had learned to be invisible. It was safer that way. After his father vanished when he was 17 and his mother died 2 years later because they couldn't afford her medication, Marcus stopped believing the world owed him anything. He dropped out of Arizona State's engineering program, sold everything they had, and moved into the back office of an abandoned gas station on the outskirts of town. He fixed cars there. Sometimes people paid. Sometimes they didn't. He told himself he didn't mind. But on August 14th, driving back from a job along Interstate 10 just past the Gila River Reservation, Marcus saw something that would shatter the numbness he'd built around his heart. A girl, teenage, maybe 16 or 17, collapsed in the dirt beside a wrecked SUV with smoke still rising from the hood. No one else had stopped. Marcus pulled over, and in that single moment, hand reaching toward a stranger's pulse, checking for life beneath skin burning from desert sun, everything Marcus had accepted about the world began to unravel. This is the story of a mechanic nobody saw and a billionaire's daughter the world forgot existed. This is what happened when kindness met cruelty and refused to blink first. Marcus Hale woke up at 5:47 a.m. to the sound of a rat chewing through a cardboard box in the corner of the shop. He didn't move right away, just lay there on the cot, staring at the water-stained ceiling tiles, counting the cracks. 23. Same as yesterday. The August heat was already creeping through the walls, turning the small back office into an oven before the sun had fully risen. The gas station had been closed for 6 years. Boarded windows, rusted pumps, a faded sign that used to say Pete's Fuel and Fix now just read PE Fue 9, after the wind tore half the letters away. Marcus rented the building for $300 a month from a landlord he'd never met, just mailed cash to a P.O. box in Tucson and hoped it counted as payment. He was 2 months behind. Again, Marcus sat up, pulled on the same grease-stained jeans he'd worn for the past 4 days, and walked barefoot across the concrete floor to the bathroom. No hot water. Hadn't been hot water in 8 months. He splashed cold tap water on his face, looked at himself in the cracked mirror, and saw a man who'd stopped asking questions. 32 years old, deep brown skin, close-cropped hair. He cut himself with clippers from Goodwill. A scar above his left eyebrow from when his father shoved him into a kitchen counter during an argument Marcus couldn't even remember anymore. Lean build. Not gym lean, survival lean. The kind of body you get when meals are optional. Marcus looked away. The mirror didn't lie, but it didn't help either. He dressed quickly, blue mechanic's shirt with Hale stitched in red thread over the chest pocket, steel-toe boots held together with duct tape, and walked into the main garage. 3 cars sat waiting. A 2004 Honda Civic with a blown head gasket, a Ford F-150 with transmission issues, a Dodge Caravan that needed brake pads and an oil change. Marcus grabbed his toolbox. Work was the only thing that made sense anymore. Engines didn't lie. Bolts either tightened or they didn't. There was no gray area. No wondering if you were good enough, smart enough, worth remembering. You fixed the problem or you didn't. Simple. By noon, Marcus had finished the Civic and started on the Ford. The owner, a man named Eddie who ran a landscaping company, had promised to pay him Friday. That was 3 Fridays ago. Marcus texted him twice. No response. He'd learned not to chase people. Desperation had a smell, and people could sense it from a mile away. He worked through lunch. Wasn't hungry anyway. Around 2 p.m., a woman pulled up in a Lexus SUV, engine rattling, check engine light flashing. Marcus walked out, wiping his hands on a rag. How much to fix it? She asked, not getting out of the car. Need to run diagnostics first, Marcus said. Probably the catalytic converter. Maybe 400-500 depending on the part. She looked at him like he'd just quoted her 10,000. I can get it done cheaper at Pep Boys, she said. Then go to Pep Boys, Marcus replied, no emotion in his voice. She drove off. Marcus went back inside. This was his life. Had been for years. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. No friends, no family, no plans past next week because planning required hope, and hope was a luxury he couldn't afford. Phoenix didn't care about men like Marcus. And Marcus had stopped caring about Phoenix. He'd been a different person once. Before his father disappeared. Before his mother got sick. Marcus had been good at math, great with his hands, curious about how things worked. His high school teachers said he could do anything. Engineering, architecture, maybe even med school if he wanted. Arizona State had accepted him on a partial scholarship. He was going to study mechanical engineering, build things, design systems, maybe work for Boeing or SpaceX. But then his father walked out one Tuesday morning and never came back. No note, no explanation, just gone. And his mother, who'd been holding everything together with minimum wage shifts at a grocery store, started getting headaches. Bad ones. Then dizziness. Then she collapsed at work. The hospital said it was a brain tumor. Treatable, if they had insurance. They didn't. Marcus dropped out of school, picked up every job he could find. Fast food, warehouse work, overnight stocking at Walmart. But it wasn't enough. His mother died 4 months after the diagnosis, and Marcus spent the next decade trying to forget what it felt like to be helpless. He sold their apartment, sold her car, sold everything that reminded him of before. And he disappeared into the kind of poverty that doesn't make the news because it's too common to be shocking. Now, at 32, Marcus had perfected invisibility. He didn't talk to people unless he had to. Didn't go to bars or church or community events. Didn't date. Didn't dream. He just survived. One engine. One day. $1 at a time. By 6 p.m., the heat was unbearable. Marcus locked up the shop, climbed into his truck, a 1998 Chevy Silverado with a busted AC and 200,000 miles on the odometer, and headed east on Interstate 10 toward a small job he'd picked up fixing a water pump for a ranch out past the Gila River Indian Reservation. The job paid $75. It was something. The desert stretched out on both sides of the highway. Endless, brutal, indifferent. Marcus had lived in Arizona his whole life, but he'd never gotten used to the emptiness. It felt like the land itself was trying to erase you. He drove in silence. No radio. The speakers had blown out years ago. Just the hum of tires on asphalt and the wind screaming through the cracked window. And then, about 30 miles outside Phoenix, Marcus saw something that didn't belong. A black SUV. Expensive. Wrecked. Smoke rising from the hood. Pulled off on the shoulder. Doors open. No one around. Marcus slowed down. Most people wouldn't stop. Too dangerous. Too many scams. Too easy to get robbed, or worse. But Marcus had spent his whole life being the person nobody stopped for. And maybe that's why he couldn't drive past. He pulled over, cut the engine, and walked toward the wreck. The heat hit Marcus the moment he stepped out of the truck. It wasn't normal heat. Not even for Arizona in August. This was the kind of heat that made the air shimmer, that turned asphalt soft, that could kill you in an hour if you weren't careful. Marcus squinted against the sun, shielding his eyes as he approached the wrecked SUV. No movement. No sound. Just the hiss of steam escaping from the crushed radiator. Hello, Marcus called out. His voice felt small against the emptiness. Nothing. He walked around the vehicle, checking the front seat. Empty. The airbags had deployed. Blood on the steering wheel. Not much, but enough to mean someone had been hurt. Then he saw her. On the other side of the SUV, collapsed in the dirt about 15 feet from the passenger door. A girl. Teenage. Light brown skin. hair matted with sweat and dust. She wore a thin white t-shirt that was soaked through and denim shorts. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. Her skin was sunburned so badly it looked like it hurt to exist. Marcus ran to her, dropping to his knees. "Hey," he said, voice urgent. "Hey, can you hear me?" No response. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck, checking for a pulse. Faint. Too faint. But there. "Okay," Marcus whispered to himself. "Okay. You're alive. Stay alive." He looked around. No phone. No wallet. No ID. Just the girl and a cracked silver bracelet hanging from her left wrist. He leaned closer, trying to read the engraving. A single letter, E. Marcus stood, scanning the highway. No other cars. No help. The nearest town was 30 miles back. She wouldn't survive that long. He scooped her into his arms, lighter than he expected, like her body had already started giving up, and carried her back to his truck. He laid her across the bench seat, cranked the windows down for airflow, and grabbed the half-empty bottle of water he kept in the cup holder. He wet his fingers and dabbed water on her lips. She didn't wake. Marcus checked his phone. No signal. He cursed under his breath, climbed into the driver's seat, and floored it back toward Phoenix. The nearest hospital was 45 minutes away. Marcus made it in 32. He carried the girl through the emergency room doors, past the security guard, straight to the front desk. "She's dehydrated," Marcus said, breathing hard. "Found her in the desert. She needs help. Now." The nurse looked at him, then at the girl, then back at him. "Is she family?" "No." "Do you have her insurance information?" Marcus stared at her. "She was dying in the desert. I don't have her insurance." The nurse hesitated, then paged a doctor. Within minutes, the girl was on a gurney, being rushed into a treatment room. Marcus stood in the hallway, hands still shaking, watching through the small window as nurses hooked her up to IVs and monitors. A doctor approached him, middle-aged, tired eyes, a name tag that read Dr. Patel. "You brought her in?" the doctor asked. "Yeah." "Do you know her name?" "No." "Any family we can contact?" "I don't know." Dr. Patel studied him for a long moment. "She's in bad shape. Severe dehydration. Second-degree burns. Possible heat stroke. You got her here just in time. Another hour." He didn't finish the sentence. Marcus nodded slowly. "We'll need to keep her overnight," Dr. Patel continued. "Maybe longer. Do you know how she ended up out there?" "Car accident," Marcus said. "SUV was totaled. She must have been trying to walk for help. Alone. Didn't see anyone else." The doctor frowned. "We'll contact the police. See if there's a missing persons report." Marcus's stomach tightened. Police meant questions. Questions meant complications. "I should go," Marcus said. "We'll need a statement," Dr. Patel said. "And someone has to cover the cost of treatment." Marcus felt the weight of those words settle on his shoulders. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Inside was $218. Everything he had left until Eddie paid him. Rent money, food money, gas money. He handed it to the doctor. "This should cover the first few hours," Marcus said quietly. Dr. Patel looked at the crumpled bills, then at Marcus. "This isn't enough for—" "It's what I have," Marcus interrupted. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. "I'll make sure it's applied to her account." Marcus turned to leave. "Wait," Dr. Patel called after him. "What's your name? In case we need to reach you." Marcus paused. He should have said nothing. Should have walked out and let the hospital handle it. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way the girl had looked lying in the dirt, like the world had already forgotten her. Maybe it was the memory of his mother dying because no one helped. Maybe it was just exhaustion. "Marcus," he said. "Marcus Hale." He gave the doctor his phone number, then left before anyone could ask anything else. By the time Marcus got back to the shop, it was past midnight. He sat in his truck for a long time, staring at the darkened building, trying to process what had just happened. He'd used his rent money to save a stranger who might not even survive. Marcus laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. He was an idiot. But as he climbed out of the truck and walked toward the back door, he couldn't shake the image of the girl's face. The way her fingers had gripped that bracelet. The way her chest had risen and fallen, fighting to stay alive. She had no one, just like him. And maybe that was enough of a reason to care. 3 days later, the hospital called. Marcus was under the hood of the Dodge Caravan, replacing brake pads, when his phone buzzed. He almost didn't answer. Unknown number. Probably a debt collector. But something made him pick up. "Mr. Hale?" A woman's voice. Professional. Calm. "Yeah." This is Phoenix General Hospital. I'm calling about the patient you brought in on the 14th. Marcus straightened, wiping grease off his hands. Is she okay? She's stable, awake, and asking for you. Marcus blinked. Asking for me? You're the only contact we have, the woman said. Can you come by? Marcus looked around the shop. He had work. He had bills. He had 100 reasons to say no. I'll be there in 30 minutes, he said. The drive to the hospital felt longer than it should have. Marcus didn't know what to expect. Would she remember him? Would she thank him? Would she have family coming to pick her up? He parked in the visitor lot and walked through the automatic doors, following the signs to the recovery wing. Room 314. Marcus knocked softly. Come in, a voice said. He pushed the door open. The girl was sitting up in bed, wearing a hospital gown, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her skin still looked raw in places, but the color had returned to her face. And foredrip was attached to her left arm. Her eyes, dark brown, sharp, locked onto him the moment he entered. You're the one who found me, she said. Not a question. Marcus nodded. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. She paused. They said you paid for my treatment. It wasn't much. It was everything you had. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. You needed help. She studied him for a long moment, then gestured to the chair beside the bed. Sit. Marcus sat. Silence stretched between them. Do you remember what happened? Marcus asked finally. The girl shook her head. Bits and pieces. I remember heat. I remember thinking I was going to die. I remember. She touched the bracelet on her wrist. I remember holding this. What's your name? Marcus asked. She looked down at the bracelet. At the engraved letter E. I don't know, she said quietly. Marcus frowned. The doctors said. I know what the doctors said. Her voice was sharper now. They asked me 100 questions. Name, address, parents, school. I don't remember any of it. Nothing. Fragments. A house. Big. Cold. A man's voice. Angry. But no faces. No names. She looked up at him. They think it's trauma-induced amnesia. Might come back. Might not. Marcus didn't know what to say. They asked if I had anywhere to go. The girl continued. I don't. No family. No friends. No home. What about the police? Marcus asked. Missing persons reports? They checked. Nothing. No one's looking for me. She said it like it was a fact, not a tragedy. Marcus leaned back in the chair, trying to process. A teenage girl with no memory. No family. No identity. Invisible. Just like him. They're going to release me tomorrow, the girl said. Send me to a youth shelter until they figure out what to do with me. Marcus thought about the shelters he'd seen. Overcrowded. Underfunded. Dangerous. What if you didn't go to a shelter? Marcus heard himself say. She looked at him, surprised. What? I have space. Marcus said, the words coming out before he could think them through. Not much. But you could stay at the shop until you figure things out. Why would you do that? Good question. Marcus didn't have a good answer. Because no one stopped for me either, he said finally. The girl stared at him, something unreadable in her expression. Then she nodded. Okay. Okay. Yeah. She held out her hand. I don't have a name, but I have a letter. E. So until I remember, you can call me Ellie. Marcus shook her hand. Marcus. I know. Ellie said, the faintest hint of a smile crossing her face. The nurses wouldn't shut up about the mechanic who saved my life. Marcus brought Ellie back to the shop the next afternoon. She didn't say much during the drive. Just stared out the window at the Phoenix sprawl, strip malls, apartment complexes, billboards advertising injury lawyers, and payday loans. When they pulled up to the abandoned gas station, Ellie raised an eyebrow. This is where you live. Yeah. She climbed out of the truck, taking in the boarded windows, the cracked asphalt, the faded sign. It's perfect, she said. Marcus wasn't sure if she was being serious or sarcastic. He showed her the back office. The cot. The mini fridge. The hot plate he used to cook ramen. You can have the cot, Marcus said. I'll sleep in the truck. No, Ellie said firmly. We'll trade off. One night you, one night me. Marcus started to argue, but the look in her eyes stopped him. Deal, he said. Over the next few days, they fell into a rhythm. Marcus worked on cars. Ellie helped where she could, handing him tools, organizing parts, learning the names of things she didn't remember ever knowing. She was smart. Quick. She picked up mechanical concepts faster than most people Marcus had trained. You've done this before, Marcus said one afternoon. watching her rebuild a carburetor without instruction. Maybe, Ellie said. Or maybe I'm just good at pretending. They ate cheap meals together, gas station sandwiches, dollar store pasta, fruit from the discount bin at Food City. Ellie never complained, never asked for more. But Marcus noticed things. The way she held a fork. Delicate. Precise. The way she pronounced certain words. Crisp. Educated. The way she flinched when cars backfired, like she expected something worse. Where do you think you came from? Marcus asked one night as they sat outside the shop, watching the sun set over the desert. Ellie was quiet for a long time. Somewhere I wasn't supposed to leave, she said finally. Marcus didn't push. They sat in silence, two people the world had forgotten, building something new out of the wreckage. And for the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel invisible. He felt seen. Victor Blackwood didn't believe in regret. Regret was for weak men. Men who second-guessed their decisions. Men who let emotion cloud judgment. Victor had built an empire by eliminating weakness. Blackwood Industries. $14 billion in assets. Operations in 37 countries. Manufacturing, real estate, defense contracts. He owned senators. Owned judges. Owned pieces of the world most people would never see. And he'd done it all by understanding one fundamental truth. Power required sacrifice. Victor sat in his office on the 63rd floor of Blackwood Tower in Manhattan, staring out at the New York skyline. It was 11 p.m. The city glittered below him like a circuit board, every light a transaction, every transaction a conquest. His assistant, David Chun, stood near the door, tablet in hand. The acquisition in Singapore is moving forward, David said. Legal expects to close by end of quarter. Victor didn't respond. He was looking at a photograph on his desk. A girl, maybe 7 years old, dark brown eyes, bright smile, holding a stuffed rabbit. His daughter, Eleanor. David noticed the shift in Victor's attention. Sir, David said carefully. Victor turned away from the photograph. Has there been any update from the investigator? Victor asked. David hesitated. No, sir. It's been 9 years. The trail is cold. I didn't ask for analysis, Victor said, his voice sharp. I asked for an update. There's nothing new, David admitted. Victor's jaw tightened. 9 years. 9 years since Eleanor disappeared. 9 years since the worst decision of his life. Victor Blackwood had never wanted to be a father. When his wife, Isabel, told him she was pregnant, Victor's first thought wasn't joy. It was annoyance. A child meant complications, distractions, emotional entanglements that would slow him down. But Isabel had been radiant. So sure that this baby would change everything. And for a while it did. Eleanor was born in the spring. Healthy, beautiful. A perfect combination of Isabel's warmth and Victor's intensity. Victor told himself he would learn to love her. But love required time. And time was the one thing Victor couldn't afford. He threw himself into his work, building Blackwood Industries from a mid-sized manufacturing company into a global powerhouse. He traveled constantly, London, Tokyo, Dubai, Sao Paulo. Months would pass without him seeing his daughter. Isabel tried to hold things together, but cracks formed. She accused him of abandoning them, of choosing money over family. Victor accused her of being weak, of not understanding what it took to build something that mattered. The fights got worse. Then one night, when Eleanor was 6, Victor came home early from a business trip and found Isabel in the study, talking on the phone. Laughing. Soft. Intimate. Victor listened from the hallway. The voice on the other end was male. Victor's world collapsed. Not because his heart was broken. Victor had stopped feeling that kind of pain years ago. But because betrayal was unacceptable. He confronted Isabel that night. She denied it at first, then admitted she'd been talking to an old friend. Someone who listened. Someone who cared. Victor saw red. Not anger. Cold, surgical rage. You want out. Victor said. Fine. But you don't get Eleanor. Isabel's face went white. You can't. I can do whatever I want, Victor said. I have lawyers. Money. Influence. You have nothing. Isabel fought. She hired attorneys. Filed for custody. Victor buried her. Publicly. Financially. Emotionally. He leaked stories to the press about her instability. Her alleged affair. Her inability to care for a child. He painted her as unfit. And the courts believed him. Victor won full custody. Isabel was allowed supervised visits. Once a month. It destroyed her. Within a year, Isabel was gone. Moved to Europe, broken, unreachable. And Victor was left with a daughter he didn't know how to love. Eleanor became a problem to manage. Nannies, private tutors, boarding schools. Victor saw her on holidays. Sometimes, she stopped smiling around him, stopped talking. By the time Eleanor was 8, she felt like a stranger living in his house. And then, one afternoon, Victor made the call that would haunt him forever. He was in a board meeting when his head of security informed him that Eleanor had run away from her boarding school in Connecticut. Again, third time that year. Victor didn't panic. He sent people to find her, paid off the school to keep it quiet, arranged for her to be transferred to a stricter facility. But Eleanor kept running, and Victor grew tired. She's unmanageable, Victor told his attorney. I don't have time for this. What do you want to do? The attorney asked. Place her in foster care, Victor said. Temporarily, until she learns discipline. You're serious? Make it happen. And it did. Eleanor Blackwood, daughter of a billionaire, was placed in the New York foster system under a false identity to protect Victor's reputation. No one knew. No press. No scandal. Just a little girl, erased. Victor told himself it was temporary. A lesson. She'd come back humbled, ready to be the daughter he needed. But 6 months later, Eleanor disappeared during a transfer between facilities. Gone. The foster agency claimed she'd run away. Victor's investigators found nothing. And rather than launch a public search, rather than admit what he'd done, Victor made another decision. He declared Eleanor dead. Privately. Quietly. He told the few people who knew about her that she'd died in an accident. The world moved on. And Victor buried the truth so deep he almost convinced himself it was real. But truth doesn't stay buried. It festers. For 9 years, Victor searched in secret, hired investigators, tracked leads, spent millions trying to find the daughter he'd erased. Not because he loved her, but because the not knowing ate at him. Victor Blackwood controlled everything. Except this. And now, sitting in his office at midnight, staring at the photograph of a 7-year-old girl who would be 16 by now, Victor felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. Because somewhere out there, Eleanor was alive. And if she ever came back, if the truth ever surfaced, it wouldn't just destroy his reputation. It would destroy everything. Ellie woke up screaming. Marcus bolted upright from where he'd been sleeping in the truck, heart pounding. He scrambled out, barefoot, and ran into the shop. Ellie was sitting on the cot, knees pulled to her chest, hands gripping the sides of her head like she was trying to hold something in or keep something out. Ellie, Marcus said, voice urgent but calm. Hey, it's okay. You're safe. She looked up at him, eyes wide, pupils dilated. I remembered, she whispered. Marcus knelt beside the cot. Remembered what? His voice. Her whole body was shaking. A man's voice, telling me I was a mistake, that I ruined everything. Marcus's chest tightened. Who? He asked gently. I don't know. Ellie's voice cracked. But he was angry. So angry. And I was scared. I was always scared around him. Marcus didn't touch her. Didn't push. Just stayed close. It's okay, he said. You don't have to remember everything right now. But Ellie shook her head. I do, she said. Because whatever I'm running from, it's still out there. Over the next 2 weeks, the memories came back in pieces. Not clean. Not linear. Fragments. Ellie remembered a house. Massive. Cold. Marble floors that echoed when you walked. She remembered being alone a lot. Nannies who didn't stay. Rooms she wasn't allowed to enter. She remembered a woman. Soft voice. Sad eyes. Singing in French. My mother, Ellie said one night as she and Marcus sat on the hood of his truck, eating gas station burritos. I think that was my mother. Do you remember her name? Marcus asked. Ellie closed her eyes, reaching for it. Isabel, she said finally. Her name was Isabel. Marcus pulled out his phone, searched the name. Too common. Millions of results. Last name, he asked. Ellie frowned, frustrated. I don't know. It's like there's a wall in my head. I can see around it, but I can't see through it. Marcus nodded. It'll come. But Ellie wasn't so sure. The memories that did come back weren't comforting. She remembered being moved. A lot. Different schools. Different houses. Different people telling her to behave, to be quiet, to be less. She remembered running away. More than once. And she remembered the fear. Constant. Suffocating. Like she was waiting for something terrible to happen. One afternoon, Marcus found Ellie sitting in the shop, staring at the silver bracelet on her wrist. What is it? Marcus asked. Ellie turned the bracelet slowly, studying the engraving. She said. I thought it stood for Ellie. But what if it doesn't? What do you mean? What if it's not my name? Ellie looked up at him. What if it's someone else's? Marcus sat down beside her. Like who? I don't know, Ellie admitted. But I remember this bracelet being important. Like it was the only thing I had left of something real. She paused. I think someone gave it to me, she continued. Someone who cared. Your mother? Marcus suggested. Ellie's expression darkened. Maybe, she said quietly. Or maybe someone who tried to save me before everything fell apart. That night, Ellie couldn't sleep. She lay on the cot, staring at the ceiling, trying to force the memories to come faster. But the harder she pushed, the more they slipped away. Until one moment, sharp and sudden, everything clicked. A face. A man. Older. 50s. Cold eyes. Expensive suit. Standing in a doorway, looking at her like she was a problem to solve. You're not supposed to be here, the man said in the memory. Ellie sat up, heart racing. She knew that voice. It was the same voice from her nightmares. The same voice that had called her a mistake. And suddenly, with horrifying clarity, Ellie understood. The man wasn't a stranger. He was her father. The next morning, Ellie told Marcus everything. I think I know who I am, she said, voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Marcus set down the wrench he'd been holding. Yeah. I think my name is Eleanor, Ellie said. And I think my father is someone powerful. Someone who didn't want me. How do you know? Because I remember him putting me somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, Ellie said. I remember being handed off to people who didn't know me. I remember running because I was scared of what would happen if I stayed. Marcus processed this slowly. You think your father put you in the system? He asked. I think he erased me, Ellie said. And I think I've been running ever since. Marcus leaned back against the workbench, mind racing. If that's true, he said carefully, and if your father is as powerful as you think, he might still be looking for you. Ellie nodded. I know. So what do you want to do? Ellie looked at him, jaw set, fear hardening into something sharper. I want to remember everything, she said. And then I want to make sure he can never erase anyone again. Marcus knew something was wrong the moment he saw the black SUVs. 3 of them, parked in a line across the street from the shop. Tinted windows. No license plates. Professional. Marcus had been out picking up parts from a salvage yard. When he pulled back into the lot, the SUVs were already there. Waiting. His stomach dropped. He parked the truck, climbed out slowly, and walked toward the shop. The door was open. He stepped inside. Ellie was sitting on a folding chair in the middle of the garage, hands clasped in her lap. Her face was pale but calm. Surrounding her were 4 men in dark suits. Expensive. Clean. The kind of men who didn't ask permission. One of them, tall, broad-shouldered, graying hair, stood closest to Ellie. He looked up when Marcus entered. Marcus Hale, the man said. Who's asking? Marcus replied, voice flat. The man reached into his jacket, pulled out a badge. Special Agent Raymond Cole. FBI. Marcus's blood went cold. FBI, he repeated. We're here about the girl, Cole said, gesturing to Ellie. Marcus glanced at her. She met his eyes, gave a small shake of her head. Don't say anything. What about her? Marcus asked carefully. Her name is Eleanor Blackwood, Cole said. She's been missing for 9 years. We've been looking for her. Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. Blackwood. I didn't know, Marcus said. We're aware, Cole said. But you've been harboring a minor without notifying authorities. That's a crime. I saved her life, Marcus shot back. And we appreciate that, Cole said, his tone too smooth. But Eleanor needs to be returned to her family. Family. Marcus's voice rose. She doesn't have family. She told me. She told you what she remembers, Cole interrupted. Which isn't reliable. Eleanor suffers from trauma-induced amnesia. She's not capable of making informed decisions about her own welfare. Marcus looked at Ellie again. She was staring at Cole with an expression Marcus had never seen before. Pure hatred. I'm not going with you, Ellie said quietly. Cole's smile didn't reach his eyes. You don't have a choice, Eleanor. My name is Ellie. Your name, Cole said, voice hardening, is Eleanor Blackwood, daughter of Victor Blackwood. And you're coming with us. Marcus stepped forward. She doesn't want to go. Cole turned to face him fully. Mr. Hale, you're already in a significant amount of legal trouble. Kidnapping. Custodial interference. If you interfere further, I'll have you arrested right now. I didn't kidnap anyone, Marcus said through gritted teeth. A court will decide that, Cole replied. One of the other agents moved toward Ellie. She stood quickly, fists clenched. "Don't touch me," she said. The agent paused, looking at Cole for direction. Cole nodded. "Eleanor, we can do this the easy way or the hard way." "There's a third option," Ellie said. "Which is, you leave, and you tell my father I'm never coming back." Cole's expression shifted, something almost sympathetic crossing his face. "Your father didn't send us," he said. "The state did. You're a minor. You belong in protective custody." "Protective custody?" Ellie laughed bitterly. "You mean the same system that lost me the first time?" Cole didn't answer. Ellie looked at Marcus. "Tell me you'll fight this," she said. Marcus's heart broke. Because he wanted to fight. Wanted to tell these men to get the hell out of his shop. But he had no money. No lawyer. No legal standing. He was a broke mechanic with a criminal accusation hanging over his head. And Ellie was the daughter of a billionaire. The system wasn't designed for people like Marcus to win. "I'll try," Marcus said quietly. Ellie's face crumpled. "That's not good enough." The agent grabbed her arm. Ellie jerked away, but another agent stepped in, securing her other arm. "Let go of me," she shouted. Marcus moved forward, instinct overriding reason. Cole stepped between them, hand on his holster. "Don't," Cole warned. Marcus stopped. Ellie was dragged toward the door, struggling, shouting. Marcus, he wanted to run after her. Wanted to fight. But 4 armed federal agents stood between them, and Marcus had nothing. Ellie was shoved into one of the SUVs. The door slammed shut. Cole turned to Marcus one last time. "You'll be contacted by the district attorney," he said. "I suggest you get a lawyer." Then he walked out. The SUVs pulled away, and Marcus stood alone in the garage, hands shaking, staring at the empty chair where Ellie had been sitting. Gone. Just like that. The news broke the next morning. Billionaire's missing daughter found alive after 9 years. Marcus saw it on his phone, then on every news site, then on the small TV in the diner across the street where he went to escape the silence of the shop. Eleanor Blackwood, daughter of industrialist Victor Blackwood, missing since 2016, found in Phoenix, Arizona, rescued by local mechanic Marcus Hale, who is now under investigation for possible kidnapping and custodial interference. Marcus's face was in the photos. His name, his shop, his entire life laid bare for the world to judge. The comments section was a war zone. He's a hero. He's a predator. Why didn't he report her to police immediately? Because he was trying to help. Or because he had other motives. Marcus turned off his phone. But it didn't stop. By noon, news vans were parked outside the shop. Reporters shouting questions. "Mr. Hale, did you know Eleanor's identity? Why did you keep her hidden? Are you in a relationship with the girl?" That last question made Marcus want to scream. He ignored them, locked himself inside, pulled the shades. But the damage was done. That afternoon, Marcus got a call from a number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Mr. Hale, my name is Jonathan Pierce. I'm an attorney representing Victor Blackwood." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "I didn't do anything wrong," Marcus said. "We're not accusing you of wrongdoing," Pierce said smoothly. "In fact, Mr. Blackwood would like to thank you personally for saving his daughter's life." Marcus didn't believe that for a second. "What do you want?" he asked. "Mr. Blackwood would like to offer you compensation," Pierce said. "For your trouble, your expenses, the inconvenience this has caused." "I don't want money." "Everyone wants money, Mr. Hale." "Not from him." There was a pause. "Mr. Blackwood is a generous man," Pierce continued. "He's prepared to offer you $250,000. In exchange, you'll sign a non-disclosure agreement and cease all contact with Eleanor." Marcus felt rage boiling in his chest. "You're trying to buy my silence." "We're trying to make this easier for everyone involved," Pierce said. "Eleanor needs stability. She needs her family. You've done your part. Now it's time to step aside." "Does Ellie know you're calling me?" Marcus demanded. Pierce hesitated. "Eleanor is receiving the care she needs." "That's not an answer." "Mr. Hale, I strongly advise you to consider this offer. The alternative is a lengthy legal battle you cannot afford. And I assure you, Mr. Blackwood's legal team is very, very good." Marcus hung up. He sat there, phone in hand, shaking with anger. They were trying to erase him, just like they'd erased Ellie. 2 days later, the police showed up. Not FBI. Phoenix PD. Detective Maria Ortiz. Mid-40s. Sharp eyes. She knocked on the shop door. Marcus let her in. "Mr. Hale, I need to ask you some questions," Ortiz said. Am I under arrest? Not yet, she said. But the DA is reviewing the case. There are concerns about how long you kept Eleanor without notifying authorities. I didn't keep her, Marcus said. She had nowhere to go. I gave her a safe place. For 3 weeks, Ortiz pointed out. 3 weeks where she wasn't dying in the desert. Marcus shot back. Ortiz studied him. I read the hospital report, she said. You used your last $200 to pay for her treatment. So that doesn't sound like someone with bad intentions, Ortiz said carefully. But it also doesn't look good. A 32-year-old man sheltering a teenage girl without telling anyone. Marcus felt sick. It wasn't like that. I believe you, Ortiz said. But belief doesn't matter. Optics do. And right now, the optics are bad. She paused. Here's my advice, Ortiz continued. Get a lawyer. A good one. And stay away from Eleanor Blackwood. Because if you don't, Victor Blackwood will destroy you. He's already trying, Marcus said bitterly. Ortiz nodded. Then don't make it easier for him. She left, and Marcus stood alone in the shop, feeling the walls closing in. That night, Marcus tried to sleep but couldn't. He kept thinking about Ellie. Where was she? Was she okay? Did she think he'd abandoned her? Around 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus answered. Marcus. His heart stopped. Ellie. They took my phone, she said, voice tight. I'm using a nurse's cell. I don't have much time. Where are you? Some private facility in New York. They're calling it a recovery center, but it feels like a prison. Marcus's chest tightened. Are you okay? No, Ellie said. They're trying to make me forget you. Therapists. Lawyers. My father's people. They keep saying you manipulated me. That I'm confused. You're not confused, Marcus said. I know. Her voice cracked. But they won't stop. They're going to bury this, Marcus. Bury you. Make it like I was never with you. I won't let them, Marcus said. How? Ellie asked, desperation bleeding through. You have no money. No power. And my father owns half the people who could help you. Marcus didn't have an answer. I don't care, he said finally. I'll figure it out. Marcus. I'm not giving up on you, he interrupted. You hear me? I'm not walking away. Ellie was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that broke him. You're the only person who ever stayed. The line went dead, and Marcus sat in the darkness, holding a phone that felt like the last connection to the only person who'd made him feel human in years. He didn't know how to fight a billionaire, didn't know how to win against a system designed to crush people like him. But he knew one thing. He wasn't giving up. Not on Ellie. Not on the truth. Even if it cost him everything. Victor Blackwood stood in the glass-walled conference room of his Manhattan office, looking down at the city he owned. Across from him sat his legal team. 5 attorneys, each one billing $1,000 an hour. The mechanic is contained, Jonathan Pierce said, flipping through documents. We've offered him a settlement. If he refuses, we'll proceed with criminal charges. Victor didn't respond. He was staring at a photograph on the table. Eleanor, older now, 16, staring at the camera with eyes that didn't recognize him. What's her condition? Victor asked. Stable, Pierce said. The therapists report she's experiencing significant memory gaps. They're working to reframe her understanding of the past 3 weeks. Reframe, Victor repeated. You mean erase? We prefer the term recontextualize, Pierce said carefully. Victor turned to face him. I want to see her. The room went silent. Sir, Pierce said slowly, that may not be advisable. Eleanor is resistant. She's requested not to see you. Victor's jaw tightened. She's my daughter. Legally, yes. But emotionally, I don't care about her emotions, Victor snapped. I care about fixing this. Quietly, before it becomes a scandal. Pierce nodded. We're working on it. Work faster, Victor said. He dismissed the team and returned to his office. Alone, Victor sat at his desk, staring at the photograph. Eleanor had been 7 the last time he really looked at her. Now she was 16, nearly a decade lost. And it was his fault. Victor wasn't a man who admitted fault. But sitting there, in the silence of his empire, he couldn't deny it anymore. He'd erased his daughter. And now she was staring back at him like a ghost demanding justice. 3 days later, Eleanor Blackwood did something no one expected. She called a press conference. Without her father's permission. Without his lawyers. Just her. Standing in front of a dozen cameras outside the recovery center in upstate New York, wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt, Eleanor Blackwood looked directly into the lens and spoke. My name is Eleanor Blackwood, she began, voice steady. I'm 16 years old, and I want to tell you the truth about what happened to me. Victor watched the live stream from his office, blood draining from his face. 9 years ago, Eleanor continued, my father placed me in foster care to punish me for being inconvenient. I was 8 years old. He used a false identity to hide who I was. And when I disappeared during a transfer, he didn't search for me. He declared me dead. Gasps from the reporters. Victor stood frozen. For 9 years, I survived, Eleanor said. I ran. I hid. I forgot who I was because remembering hurt too much. She paused. 3 weeks ago, I nearly died in the Arizona desert. I was dehydrated, burned, alone, and a man named Marcus Hale saved my life. The camera zoomed in on her face. Marcus didn't know who I was. Didn't know I came from money. He just saw someone who needed help. And he helped. He used his last $200 to pay for my hospital treatment. He gave me a place to stay. He gave me food, kindness, safety. Eleanor's voice hardened. And now my father's lawyers are trying to destroy him. They're calling him a kidnapper, a predator. They're offering him money to disappear. She looked directly into the camera. But Marcus Hale isn't the villain in this story. My father is. The room erupted. Reporters shouting questions. Eleanor raised her hand. I don't want my father's money, she said. I don't want his lawyers. I don't want his version of the truth. She pulled the silver bracelet from her wrist, held it up. This bracelet has one letter on it. E for Eleanor. My mother gave it to me before my father took her away too. Her voice cracked. I'm done being erased, Eleanor said. I'm done letting powerful men decide what my life is worth. She lowered the bracelet. Marcus Hale saved my life, and I'm not letting anyone punish him for it. The feed cut. Victor sat in his office, hands shaking. His phone exploded. Calls, texts, emails, board members, investors, PR teams, everyone demanding answers. But Victor couldn't speak. Because his daughter, the child he'd tried to bury, had just dismantled his empire in under 5 minutes. The fallout was immediate. Blackwood Industries' stock dropped 18%. Major clients pulled contracts. Senators distanced themselves. The media tore Victor apart. Billionaire abandons daughter. Victor Blackwood, the man who erased his child. Eleanor Blackwood's brave stand against her father. Marcus watched it all from the shop, phone in hand, heart pounding. Ellie had done it. She'd told the truth. And the world had listened. 2 days later, Marcus got a call. From Ellie. I'm coming back to Phoenix, she said. What? How? I'm 16. Legally, I can petition for emancipation. And after that press conference, 3 law firms have offered to represent me pro bono. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything, Ellie said. What about your father? Ellie's voice went cold. He has a choice. He can keep trying to control me, or he can let me go. And if he doesn't, then I'll keep fighting, Ellie said. Because you taught me something, Marcus. What's that? That I'm worth fighting for. Victor Blackwood arrived in Phoenix on a private jet. No security detail. No lawyers. Just him. He took a car from the airport to the abandoned gas station on the outskirts of town. The place looked worse in person. Broken windows. Cracked asphalt. A faded sign barely holding on. Victor stepped out of the car, expensive shoes crunching on gravel. Marcus was outside, working on an engine. He looked up when he heard the car door. And froze. Victor Blackwood. In the flesh. Older than Marcus expected. Graying hair. Expensive suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in a year. But there was something else in his face. Exhaustion. Marcus Hale, Victor said, voice rough. Marcus set down his wrench, wiped his hands on a rag. Mr. Blackwood. They stood 10 feet apart. Silence stretched between them. I came to apologize, Victor said finally. Marcus blinked. For what? For everything. Victor's voice cracked. For what I did to my daughter. For what I tried to do to you. Marcus didn't know what to say. I don't expect forgiveness, Victor continued. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know, you saved her. When I failed, when I destroyed her, you saved her. Marcus crossed his arms. I didn't do it for you. I know, Victor said. You did it because you're a better man than I'll ever be. The words hung in the air. Victor looked around the shop. This is where she lived, he asked. For 3 weeks, Marcus said. Victor's face twisted with something that looked like grief. She was happy here, wasn't she? Marcus nodded. Yeah, she was. Victor closed his eyes. I took everything from her, he whispered. Her childhood, her mother, her identity, and she found more love in a garage than she ever found in my house. Marcus didn't disagree. What do you want? Marcus asked. Victor opened his eyes, met Marcus's gaze. I want to make this right, he said. If that's even possible. You can't buy your way out of this, Marcus said. I know, Victor said, but I can try to earn my way back. He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. This isn't a bribe, Victor said quickly. It's an investment. He handed it to Marcus. Marcus opened it. Inside was a check. For $500,000. Marcus stared at it. What is this? It's for the shop, Victor said. To expand. To hire people. To build something real. Marcus looked up, suspicious. Why? Because Eleanor told me what you did, Victor said. How you used your last dollar to save her. How you gave her a home when no one else would. And I realized you're the kind of man I should have been. He paused. This isn't charity, Marcus. It's restitution. For everything I took from her. Everything I tried to take from you. Marcus stared at the check. I don't want your guilt money. Then don't take it from me, Victor said. Take it for her. Because Eleanor believes in you. And I need to start believing in the people she believes in. Marcus's hands shook. Where is she now, he asked. At a hotel downtown, Victor said. Waiting to see if I'd grovel or fight. And what are you doing? Victor smiled bitterly. Groveling. That night, Ellie came back to the shop. Marcus was sitting outside, staring at the check, when he heard footsteps. He looked up. Ellie stood there, backlit by the setting sun, wearing the same jeans and t-shirt from the press conference. Hey, she said. Hey, Marcus replied. She walked over, sat down beside him. My father came by, Marcus said. I know. I told him to. Marcus looked at her. Why? Because he needed to see what he almost destroyed, Ellie said. And because you deserve to hear him say he was wrong. Marcus was quiet for a moment. He gave me money, Marcus said, holding up the check. Ellie glanced at it, then looked away. Do you want it? She asked. I don't know, Marcus admitted. Feels like taking it means I'm part of his world. And I don't want to be part of his world. Ellie nodded slowly. Then don't take it for him, she said. Take it for the next kid who ends up alone in the desert. Take it so you can help more people. Marcus looked at her. You sound like you've been thinking about this. I have, Ellie said. Because I've been thinking about what comes next. What do you mean? Ellie turned to face him fully. I don't want my father's empire, she said. I don't want his money or his name or his legacy. So what do you want? I want to build something new, Ellie said. Something that doesn't forget people. Something that sees the invisible. She paused. I want to start a foundation. For kids like me. Kids who fall through the cracks. Kids the system erases. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. That's a big dream, he said. I learned from the best, Ellie said, smiling. Marcus smiled back. You're going to change the world, aren't you? Maybe, Ellie said. But only if you help me. Marcus looked at her. This girl he'd found dying in the desert, who'd become the most important person in his life. Deal, he said. 6 months later, the shop looked different. Expanded. Renovated. New equipment. A sign out front read, Hale and Blackwood Auto Repair. Underneath, in smaller letters, we fix more than engines. Marcus stood in the garage, teaching a group of teenagers, former foster kids, kids who'd aged out of the system, kids who needed work and a chance, how to rebuild a transmission. Ellie walked in, carrying coffee. Thought you could use this, she said, handing Marcus a cup. Thanks, Marcus said. She watched him work for a moment. You're good at this, she said. At what? Giving people hope. Marcus shrugged. I'm just doing what someone should have done for me. Ellie smiled. That's exactly why it works. Outside, the Arizona sun blazed. Inside, something new was growing. A place where people weren't invisible. Where kindness wasn't rare. Where broken things, engines and people, got fixed. Victor Blackwood visited once a month. Not to control. Not to manage. Just to watch. To see what his daughter had built. To see the man who'd saved her life, now saving others. And slowly, painfully, Victor began to understand what he'd lost. Not money, not power, but the chance to be someone worth remembering for the right reasons. Eleanor and Marcus didn't forgive easily, but they built something better than forgiveness. They built a future, one where bloodlines didn't matter as much as the choice to show up, to stop when others kept driving, to care when caring cost everything. And in a city that swallowed the invisible whole, Marcus Hale and Eleanor Blackwood became the people who made sure no one disappeared again. The end.